Most people think a powerful mind looks obvious. Someone with all the answers. Someone who never doubts themselves. Someone who dominates every room they walk into. But that's not what real mental strength looks like. Real mental strength is quiet. It doesn't perform. It doesn't need an audience. In fact, some of the most powerful minds in the world are attached to people who don't even realize how strong their thinking actually is, because the signs are subtle and they've been trained to overlook them. Think about someone you know who never seems to fall apart, not because nothing hard ever happens to them, but because something in how they process hard things is different. That difference is rarely visible from the outside. It's not a personality trait you can spot in 5 minutes. It's a set of quiet habits, built slowly, often without the person even noticing they were building anything at all. In this video, you're going to discover 10 hidden signs of a genuinely powerful mind, the psychology behind why these traits are so easy to miss, and why the people who have them are usually the last ones to recognize it in themselves. Let's begin. Sign 1. You feel discomfort and move through it anyway. Here's something most people get backwards. They think mentally strong people don't feel fear, don't feel doubt, don't feel the pull to quit. But that's not true. Every powerful mind still feels the exact same discomfort as everyone else. The difference isn't the absence of fear, it's the relationship with it. Picture 2 people standing at the edge of the same difficult conversation. Maybe it's telling a manager they disagree with a decision. Maybe it's setting a boundary with a parent. Both people feel their stomach tighten. Both people feel the urge to postpone it, to send a message instead, to find any reason to wait one more day. The difference shows up in what happens next. One person listens to that discomfort and treats it as a stop sign. The other listens to the exact same discomfort and treats it as background noise, uncomfortable, but not a decision maker. Psychologists call this distress tolerance, the capacity to stay present with an uncomfortable feeling without needing to escape it immediately. Most people treat discomfort as a signal to stop. A strong mind treats it as information, nothing more. It notices the feeling, acknowledges it, and keeps moving anyway. This is why some people can give a difficult piece of feedback while their hands are literally shaking, and still do it clearly and kindly, while someone else avoids the conversation for 6 months. If you've ever done something hard while your whole body was telling you not to, that wasn't luck. That was a skill most people never develop, and it's one of the clearest fingerprints of a strong mind. Sign 2. You can sit with silence instead of filling it. Think about the last time a conversation went quiet. Most people rush to fill that space. They talk faster. They ask a question just to have something to say. They crack a joke that doesn't quite land, just to break the tension. Silence for most people feels like a problem to solve. Now imagine a job interview. The interviewer asks a hard question and then simply waits. Most candidates start talking within 2 seconds, even before they know what they want to say, because the silence itself feels unbearable. But every so often, someone pauses. They actually think. 3, 4, 5 seconds of quiet before they speak. And counterintuitively, that pause almost always reads as more confident, not less, because it signals a mind that isn't afraid of its own thinking process being visible. Researchers who study communication patterns have found that people who tolerate silence tend to process information more deeply before responding. They're not slower thinkers, they're more careful ones. The rush to fill silence usually comes from anxiety, a fear that if the gap stays open too long, something will be revealed. The willingness to sit in it usually comes from a quieter kind of confidence, the sense that your value in a conversation was never dependent on constant noise in the first place. Sign 3. You notice your own bias before anyone points it out. Nearly everyone has blind spots. That part is universal, and no amount of intelligence removes it completely. What separates a powerful mind isn't the absence of bias. It's catching it early, before it shapes a decision that's hard to undo. Imagine meeting someone for the first time who reminds you, in some small, unconscious way, of a person who once hurt you. A certain tone of voice, a certain way of laughing. Before you've even had a real conversation with them, some part of your brain has already started building a case against them. Most people never catch this happening. They simply feel a vague dislike and assume it must be based on something real about the new person. A strong mind catches the pattern mid-formation. It notices the reaction and asks a quiet follow-up question. Why did I just think that? Is that fair? Or is that just familiar? This is a form of self-monitoring that psychologists call metacognitive awareness, the ability to observe your own thinking as it happens, almost like watching yourself from a small distance. A person without this skill reacts to a situation and assumes their first reaction is simply the truth. A person with this skill notices the reaction and questions it before it hardens into a judgment. That small pause, that tiny moment of self-checking, is doing more work than most people realize. And over a lifetime, it prevents an enormous number of unfair conclusions about other people. Sign 4. You can hold two conflicting ideas without needing to resolve them immediately. Here's something that trips up a lot of people. The world is complicated, and most situations don't come with a clean, single answer. A person can be talented and difficult. A decision can be right for the company and still hurt someone personally. A job can be good for your career and bad for your health at the same time. Think about someone deciding whether to stay in a relationship that has real love in it and real problems in it at the same time. Weak thinking wants to collapse that tension into one simple label as fast as possible because ambiguity feels unbearable. It either becomes, this relationship is good and I'm overreacting, or this relationship is bad and I need to leave immediately. Both are simpler than the truth. A powerful mind can hold both truths at once. This is genuinely good, and this is genuinely a problem, without rushing to pick a side before enough information is in. This is sometimes called cognitive flexibility, and it's one of the traits most consistently linked to strong problem solving. The people who figure out the hardest problems in life, in relationships, in business, in their own personal growth, are usually the ones who can tolerate not having a tidy answer yet, sometimes for weeks or months, without that discomfort forcing them into a premature decision. Sign 5. You ask for help before it becomes an emergency. There's a myth that strength means doing everything alone. In reality, waiting until you're overwhelmed to ask for help isn't strength. It's usually a fear of appearing weak that ends up costing far more than the help would have. Picture two employees working on the same overwhelming project. One waits until 3 days before the deadline, then sends a panicked message asking for help after most of the useful window has already closed. The other, in week 1, quietly says, I think this piece is outside what I know how to do well. Can someone walk me through it? From the outside, the second person might even look less capable in that moment. In reality, they just saved the entire team weeks of damage control. A genuinely strong mind treats asking for support the same way it treats any other tool, something to reach for early before the situation gets harder than it needed to be. This shows up in small moments too. Asking a coworker to double-check something instead of guessing. Telling a friend you're struggling before you're in crisis. Admitting you don't understand instructions instead of nodding along and hoping it works out. None of that looks impressive from the outside, but it prevents an enormous number of problems that never had to happen in the first place. Sign 6. You separate someone's behavior from their identity. When someone lets you down, there are 2 ways to think about it. You can decide they are a bad person, or you can decide they did something disappointing in a specific moment. That distinction matters more than people realize. Think about a friend who forgets your birthday during an incredibly hard year. Right after losing a job, right in the middle of a health scare. One way of thinking says, they don't actually care about me. Another way of thinking says, they're overwhelmed right now, and this one moment doesn't erase everything else I know about them. Psychologists who study relationships have found that people who separate behavior from identity tend to recover from conflict faster and hold grudges less. It's the difference between thinking he's selfish and thinking that decision he made was selfish. One closes the door completely. The other leaves room for someone to be more than their worst moment, which, as it turns out, is also how the strongest minds tend to think about themselves after making a mistake. They don't say, I'm a failure. They say, that was a failure, and I'm still the person who can learn from it. That single shift in language changes almost everything about how someone recovers from setbacks. Sign 7. You can enjoy something without needing to explain why. There's a specific kind of insecurity that shows up as over-justifying. Someone likes a certain kind of music, a certain hobby, a certain way of spending their weekend, and immediately feels the need to defend it. I know this is kind of embarrassing, but I actually really love it. That sentence on its own reveals something. Picture a grown adult who loves collecting comic books or spending Saturday nights playing a video game instead of going out, or watching a show most people consider silly. A powerful mind doesn't need external permission to enjoy something. It doesn't run every preference through a filter of, will people think this is impressive enough? It simply enjoys the thing, openly, without a disclaimer attached. This might sound small, but it reflects something much bigger, an internal sense of validation that doesn't depend on constant outside approval. The people who seem the most relaxed in their own lives are usually the ones who stopped auditioning their interests for other people a long time ago. Ironically, that ease is often what makes other people trust them more, not less. Sign 8. You notice when you're about to react instead of respond. Reacting and responding look similar from the outside, but they come from very different places. A reaction is immediate, automatic, driven by whatever emotion just showed up. A response has a half-second of space in it, just enough room to choose. Imagine getting a short, sharp text message from someone you care about, the kind that could be read as rude or could be read as them just being busy. The reacting mind fires back immediately, matching the tone, escalating within seconds. The responding mind feels the same spike of irritation, the same urge to fire back, and then notices it. It asks, do I actually know what they meant by this? Or am I filling in the worst possible interpretation? Neuroscientists have described this gap as one of the most trainable parts of emotional regulation. It doesn't mean never feeling anger or frustration. It means noticing the feeling arrive before it drives the car. People with this skill aren't calmer because they feel less. They're calmer because they've built a small pause between the feeling and the action. And that pause changes almost everything about how a situation unfolds, in relationships, at work, and in every disagreement that could have gone very differently. Sign 9. You update your opinion of people over time instead of freezing it. Most people form an impression of someone early and then quietly stop updating it. A powerful mind does something different. It treats a first impression as a working draft, not a finished conclusion, and keeps revising it as new information comes in. Think of a coworker who came across as cold and distant in their first month at a new job. Most people file that impression away permanently, treating every future interaction through that same lens. But imagine finding out later that this person was going through a divorce during those first few months. And once things settled, they turned out to be one of the warmest people on the team. The mind that never updates keeps seeing cold coworker. The mind that stays open sees the full picture. This applies to people who disappointed you once and later changed. And it applies to people who impressed you once and later showed a different side. The willingness to keep the file open, so to speak, requires a kind of humility most people don't practice. The acceptance that your read on someone might have been incomplete, not wrong exactly, just unfinished, and that people are allowed to be more complicated than a single first encounter. Sign 10, you can be wrong in public and stay steady. This is the one that ties everything together. Being wrong in private is easy. Nobody's watching. Being wrong in front of other people, in a meeting, in a group chat, in front of someone whose opinion matters to you, that's where most people's composure falls apart. Picture someone presenting an idea confidently in a meeting, and then a colleague points out a flaw that completely changes the picture in front of everyone. Most people's instinct is to defend, to explain, to find some way the flaw doesn't actually matter, because the embarrassment of being wrong in front of others feels unbearable. A powerful mind can absorb that moment without spiraling. Not because the embarrassment doesn't register. It does. It stings, just like it would for anyone. But because the sense of self isn't built on being right in the first place, it's built on something sturdier. And that sturdiness is exactly what allows a person to say, "You know, I think you're right. Let me rethink that," in front of a room full of people, without it costing them anything at all. In fact, it usually earns more respect than defending a broken position ever would have. The people who can do this consistently, over and over, across years, tend to become the people others trust the most, precisely because everyone can see they care more about getting it right than about looking right. Before we end, one important thing. If you recognized yourself in several of these signs, that's worth noticing. And if you recognized areas you still want to grow into, that's worth noticing too. None of these 10 signs are things you either have or don't have permanently. They're built slowly in ordinary moments that mostly go unnoticed. A pause before reacting, a question asked instead of assumed, a mistake admitted instead of defended. Nobody does all 10 of these consistently. The goal was never perfection. The goal is simply becoming a little more aware of your own mind than you were before this video started. If this video gave you a clearer picture of your own thinking, subscribe to Human OS System for more psychology content, built to help you understand your own mind. And when you're ready, the next video is already waiting.